Hi everyone, before we get into today's video, I just wanted to let you know that this video here, it's going to have some spoilers in it. That's right, see that movie in the title? We're going to be talking about that one, and if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend maybe holding off if you're worried about spoilers, because we are going to be talking about stuff that spoils the movie. So that being said, if you have a chance to watch this movie before seeing this video, please do, as the chances are it's definitely worth the watch. But if you've got the chance, catch the film in cinemas or on demand before watching this video, and then you can come back to it and hear what I got to say on it. That's everything everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for listening. If you go into Black Widow hoping to see a high octane, high energy film that blasts its way from start to finish, you're going to be disappointed. But what Black Widow does promise and deliver on is a heartfelt family story with some action here and there to spice things up. Hello viewers, welcome back to Media 13, my name is Jordan and these are my thoughts on Black Widow. Black Widow's story takes place after Captain America Civil War in 2016, making this a prequel rather than a step forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We start off the film with a flashback to Natasha's childhood, and to be honest, this was really nice seeing her early years. To begin with, things actually look pretty normal for her. But pretty much instantly, it's thrown out the window when one night her father comes home and it's clear that something is off, and before she can say anything about it, she, along with her sister Yelena, are being moved away by their parents as they drive off into an unknown. Or at least somewhere we believe is unknown. They escape the authorities after a close call and fly to Cuba, and it's there that we learn this whole thing is a facade. This family dynamics are quickly broken down as Natasha and Yelena are drugged and taken away from Alexei. Cut to the present day, we are met with Natasha as she is currently evading a task force that is out for her arrest, seeing as she's on the run post-Civil War. She flees America and retreats to a caravan in the middle of nowhere, however a mysterious package causes her to have a run-in with one of the film's antagonists, Taskmaster. She narrowly escapes with vials from the package, having learned it was sent by Yelena, who we saw breaking free of her mind control a few scenes prior. From there the film pretty much goes as you'd expect. The two reunite and evade the members of the Red Room. Natasha assumes it's been inactive for years and is shocked to learn that not only is it thriving, she also failed in killing the one man who ran it many years ago. Now, I like the Red Room idea in this movie a lot. I like how Natasha reacts to the fact that it has clearly changed since she was involved with it. Since she broke away, it's turned more from sort of basic brainwashing and mind manipulation to complete and utter mind control. It's this really creepy concept that the film builds on a lot, and I'd actually really like to see it explored more in the future if they decide to go back to it. Of course, we eventually get Alexei in the film as they break him out of prison in a really fun sequence that I loved a lot. From there, it's just a matter of bringing Melina back into things, and to be honest, it's done pretty quick after that. With the family reunited, all that's left is the final act, and being honest, I genuinely think this third act for the most part is fantastic. We get a lot of great character moments here, and the bait and switch between Natasha and Melina is also really well done. This whole sequence just flows so well, and it's one of the reasons that Black Widow's third act is one of my favourite in the MCU. The ending too, I mean, it's fine, it's exactly what you'd expect for this movie. Also, side note, I am slightly ashamed to admit that I only just realised at the end of this film that the vest she wears in Infinity War is the one that Yelena is wearing in Black Widow. I know, call me a fake Marvel fan in the comments, I know Reese already has. But let's move on before you get the chance to comment on that, and it's time to talk about... Given that this is a lesser stakes film, it takes a lot more time in building character relationships, and we feel that a lot. And you might think I said that as if it's a bad thing, but actually, this is one of Black Widow's best characteristics. It focuses on characters and relationships like most other Marvel films sometimes can't. It's a nice change of pace to know that these moments exist. We can have these scenes with Natasha and Yelena being more than just action heroes, we can have them being sisters. Alexei is a big charmer here. David Harbour does really well with bringing the Red Guardian to life and wins you over almost instantly. He's so energetic and full of charisma that you love every second of screen time that he has. And to be completely honest, and it's been a while since I was able to say this positively, every single joke in this movie pretty much lands. And a lot of that is down to the Red Guardian or David Harbour, because he is the comedic driving force of this film, and there's not a single joke that didn't at least get a smile out of me. The comedy isn't where it ends though, he's also great in the emotional moments. There's this scene with Yelena in the bedroom and my god, it is the best scene in this movie. I really want Marvel in the future to start taking more note of this and realising we can make these compelling character moments. Other films have done it, Black Widow isn't the first, but Black Widow takes that and makes it one of its main attributes. But this scene, it is fucking amazing. I mean, my god, where do I... Okay, on that note, I might have to stop talking about that because otherwise I'm not going to have a topic for a future video. And besides, we're talking about characters right now. I love him so much, and if not for a certain character, he would have been the standout. But Yelena Belova steals the show from minute one and keeps it till the very fucking end. Florence Pugh is an actress that I already love, so the fact she was able to absolutely nail this character in the first try brings me so much damn joy. She's funny, she's vibrant, and she nails emotion like it's nothing. She becomes Yelena with ease, and it's almost uncanny. She performs this role perfectly, don't get me wrong, I knew I'd love her from the trailers alone. Florence Pugh's been electric in pretty much everything I've seen her in so far, and while this isn't her career best so far, it's definitely up there. The innocent but deadly nature she brings to life here is astonishing, and she's the sole reason Yelena is now in my top 10 MCU characters, and that sounds insane, but there is a video coming where I justify each one, so stay tuned. I personally cannot wait to see more of her character. And you might notice I haven't mentioned Melina yet. I mean, it's because I don't have much to say. She's fine. I don't know, Rachel Weisz is good when she's in it, but she doesn't have nearly as much screen time as others. I'm not going to call it bad, but I can't sit here and gush about a performance that doesn't have nearly as much gas as others. And with that leaves us with the final character in our main four. And the character that unfortunately we were saying goodbye to. Now this probably applies to absolutely no one watching this, but if you were not aware somehow, this was a goodbye to Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff. I'll be completely honest and say that for me, she has saved her best performance as this character for her curtain call, and I find that quite fitting. It lets her bow out on a high note, and given the legacy this character has and her icon status within the MCU, I think that's a really nice touch. But does it leave the impact it should have? I mean, sure, there's certainly something. I'd be lying if I told you I'd been completely stone-hearted when we saw Yelena beside Natasha's grave in the post-credit scene. But is that the only reason I felt that emotion? Would I have had more emotion had this been released pre-Endgame? But to think that it's taken Black Widow this long to get her own solo movie and to know that this is it for her is honestly a shame. Because this character has been around since Iron Man 2 and she deserves so much better. But then, maybe that was the best option. Right, but just hear me out for a second, okay? Maybe this genuinely was the best solution for the character. Think about it, pre-Endgame, Nat had never had a solo movie. After bowing out in Endgame, maybe that was the best time to give her the solo movie. Give her the time in the spotlight as a final way to say goodbye. Have the final moments of this character on screen come in her story. Make it her own moment rather than just her being the side piece yet again, or 1/6 of the current rotation of main characters. Yeah, you make a pretty good point, actually, to be fair, I'll give you that one. Black Widow is her story. At this point, it's really just up to opinion on whether you think this film should have been out sooner, or if this was the perfect time to have it. I'm split down the middle, to be honest. I really have no clue on what I feel. I enjoyed the movie regardless of my thoughts on its release window, and that's the important thing. Now that it's out, that's all we can really do. Marvel has become really hit or miss when it comes to the antagonists in their movies. You know, for every Mysterio you've got a Whiplash. For every Thanos, a Malekith. Black Widow, you kind of have that own dynamic with Dreykov and Taskmaster both coming at opposite ends of the spectrum in my opinion. Now, I've had to re-record this segment as you can tell by the different shirt, the fact the hair might look a little different. When I went to the cinemas to see Black Widow a second time, my opinion on it has changed in the villain department. Initially I found Taskmaster to be a sort of underwhelming rendition when comparing him to the comic book counterpart. And while I still feel that to a degree, I can't say I feel it nearly as much. Even with my initial issues, Taskmaster is not the sole purpose behind my issues with the antagonist in Black Widow. You know, I'm more than okay with the gender swap, and for a good 45 minutes of this movie, I did not see that coming. However, there is a line in the movie, and I can't remember if it's exactly 45 minutes or like near the hour mark, but I think in retrospect, someone paying even slightly more attention than I was at the time would have realised straight away that it was alluding to the fact that Taskmaster was Dreykov's daughter. It should be noted here that Reese, the trusted channel assistant and the person behind the infamous PowerPoint in the Marvel Theories video, did predict this at this point as soon as that was said, and I wasn't initially going to mention this, but I could hear a strop coming, so I decided it would be better just to get it out of the way. So there you go, you've got your acknowledgement. However, the predictability is not my only issue. I may love the design, I may find it really sleek and a great adaptation of a suit that takes into account both the comic book look and this universe. It's elements of the character herself that I initially had issues with. But with the second viewing, that almost completely disappeared. Now, I don't know if it was just me trying to find something negative desperately in that first time around, so that I didn't seem incredibly biased. But now that I've seen it a second time and I don't feel the same, I can't in good faith continue to use it as a point in the video. I mean, after all, this issue did kind of stem from me misinterpreting a trait about the character in the film that wasn't pointed out to me afterwards until a friend talked to me about it when the film was over. And now that I can see I'm wrong about it, I cut it, and that's why I'm re-recording this. However, issues with Taskmaster resolved, and that still leaves Dreykov. Now, I'm fine with Taskmaster being the main villain. I get that she's marketed as the main villain, and I'm completely okay with the change. But at least make the lead antagonist compelling, maybe? Taskmaster in relation to Dreykov seems so underused. Despite being really great whenever she's in the movie, I mean, this character is the sole reason that the action works so well in this movie and is probably some of the best in the MCU. I mean, the reveal that she's not the primary adversary is cool and all, but then at least make the actual primary adversary someone compelling and not underdeveloped. It was potential for a badass female villain, and now she's just nothing more than a mind-controlled pawn that was under the control of a male villain all along, and really, I feel like that sort of takes away from what the character could have been a little bit. Now, this one is an issue that I'm not even sure I want to start counting with Marvel movies anymore because it happens in so many of them. And the issue is a dull fucking score. Why is it that so many Marvel movies have such dull scores that do nothing to enhance anything? They don't lift scenes where they should and just fall at every sting. It's honestly becoming tiring at this point, but then you go back and watch the trailer and holy shit, that trailer pumps you up, it gets you excited for the film, it carries you through to the end, and it's all thanks to the music. But then the score for the movie just doesn't do the same. There's maybe one Marvel score throughout the entire saga that I can name. That being because of the fact that it's linked to one of the most iconic scenes in comic book movies overall. Portals is everything that a Marvel score should be. Endgame as a whole is a relatively memorable one, and it just sucks to know that everything around it doesn't. I mean, obviously there is exceptions. I do really like the Spider-Man Far From Home suite. And I just hope it's something that Marvel fixes moving forward. I get that scores aren't a big deal to some people, but for me, it's a big part of the viewing experience. It helps enhance and makes this experience just that bit more exciting. So I suppose the real big question is, what next? Natasha's gone, but does that spell the end of this franchise? Could the Black Widow movies carry on with Yelena, just like the Captain America franchise seems to be doing with Sam Wilson? It's a completely plausible idea, and we know Yelena's far from done. I mean, it's been 100% confirmed that she's coming back for the Hawkeye show, and that's going to be just another amazing part of her story. Whether her future lies with a new team of Avengers or more likely the Thunderbolts remains to be seen. But as one Widow's story comes to a close, another one's born. So much about this movie that I love. I love the opening sequence followed by the stylistic credits. Marvel's usual style has that at the end, and I love the change of pace in putting it at the beginning instead. I also love that for the most part this isn't a by the books Marvel story. It does have similar elements, but Black Widow tries its best to be something different, and in my opinion it succeeds. More than that though, this film acts almost as a passing of the torch moment. And I'm going to end this video the same way that I started it. Black Widow does not promise you a game changer. It's not going to throw you a plot that changes the stakes of the MCU forever. However, what it does give is a heartfelt tribute to the concept of found family. Unlike previous Marvel movies, this film takes its time to cherish and hold the relationships that characters have. Despite the little nagging issues I've went over in this video, I still absolutely adore this movie. I love everything that it tries to be, even though it fails in some aspects. This isn't top 8 on the quality alone. This film made it to my 8th spot in my MCU ranking because of the fact that it does what no other film tends to do. I cared more for Natasha than I ever have, and that's weird considering she's no longer here. I cared enough that when the credits were over, the post-credit scene was done, I actually felt a bit of sadness knowing that this was it. Everything this film does is an aid of saying goodbye to an icon that the MCU was blessed with. And to be completely honest, I think it's done beautifully.